if the city sings, "I shaft the sheriff," will the sheriff ask, "By what authority?" On Sunday, February 28, 2021. Let's see if we can find out. And this has to do with, well, as it turns out, sheriffs own property just about like everybody else does. And depending on how big your county is, a lot of this information is online, free to go look at. You just have to go and, look at deeds or whatever. And, well, there you go. Kent County is one of those counties that's big enough. And the sheriff of Kent County has property in the city of Wyoming. But it appears that the city of Wyoming is impersonating this entity that should be called the City of Wyoming, which is an entity that had a charter, has a charter, but isn't following their charter. Right? There's the charter, says all this stuff, but that isn't what they're doing. Well, that means you're not following the charter. Well, if, this was back in the days of England, there would be a writ of quo warranto issued. By what authority is the franchisee not following the franchise? And that would come from the sheriff, which, that's the common law office from back in the day in all the county to do the king's business. So, sheriff, what are you going to say if you find out that the city of Wyoming, who's charging you property taxes, really isn't the government, and that the thing that should be the government, the city of Wyoming, that has a charter, isn't following the charter? Then what happened to the city of Wyoming? Right? Does that mean it's actually operating then as the town of Wyoming, which is the original jurisdiction was the town. The town got incorporated, became the city of Wyoming. Guy had the charter, da-da-da-da. But at the bottom, right, if it wasn't following his charter, it would revert back to the town of Wyoming. And all these are, all different jurisdictions. And so we need to determine what the jurisdiction is and have everybody acknowledge it, right? We should be able to determine our jurisdiction, which we want to be the land jurisdiction in the United States. The United States is where the land is, right? The United States gave the land to the state. And so basically what happened is the United States gave land to the state using the public land survey system. Then the state went and they did their own survey and they modified it with their own survey system. So when they give you land, they're not giving you the land that was given to them by the United States. They're giving you, a form of ownership in the land from the United States. But it doesn't have the same, actually, I can't even say it's in the United States. It doesn't have the same legal description, and so it's not the same. They really didn't give you anything. They kept from you what you thought you were getting from the United States because they changed the form of the survey used to describe the property that's being given to you. That's all it takes, right? Just errors and omissions on paperwork, and pretty soon you don't own squat. And that's the way it is, Sheriff. You don't own squat. But neither does anybody else. I mean, welcome to the club. Right? It's all been taken from us in this fictitious system that's being run by attorneys, esquires, working as crown agents for United States of America, which is actually a jurisdiction of King George III. It's the corporate jurisdiction, United States of America, right? When King George had his frickin' colonies here, they were just businesses to him. They weren't frickin' countries. It was just a frickin' corporation. Well, that's the corporate government, United States of America. Go look at a passport. It says United States of America. Now go look at money. $20 bill. Where is it at? It says the United States of America. They're two different jurisdictions. They have us in this fictitious jurisdiction. They have all the wealth in another jurisdiction. Well, City of Wyoming and the City of Wyoming is really the same problem, right? One is impersonating the other. So let's get on with it. But if you're the government and need to talk to me, well, I'm Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Berluski, United States Army veteran. Anybody else, you can call me Rob Ryder. But, you want to play government, then I'm Staff Sergeant. So let me put a few things up here, Sheriff, and I'm going to show you. And it just isn't you. This is happening to every sheriff in the United States, right? It's happened to all of you. All you need to do is look at a few documents, and that's what I do. Is I look at the documents, find the errors or the omissions, and say, well, this is wrong, or this is wrong, or this is wrong. Now I don't have any power to coerce them to fix it, but I'm not the sheriff, right? So let's get the sheriff to do it. Okay, yeah, hang on just a second here. And so, Sheriff, about a week or so ago, I emailed you a letter with some evidence that I'm going to show you again in just a second, and then I did a video on it, right? Which is, will the sheriff serve the sovereign? So if you didn't have a chance to, read the damn letter or look at the evidence, well, you can just watch the video or listen to it. And in the video, I will read the letter to you. But that and these number of videos just before all tie together with this thing that's happening with the Land Act and how they're not properly describing property and they're simulating a legal process and so forth and so on. Like when you go to a foreclosure for taxes, what they've done is they've taken state tax forms, official local government state tax forms, and they have counterfeited them. Right? They take sections right out. It's still got the number up there. It says this is the Michigan state tax form. Right? Department of Treasury. Michigan Department of Treasury tax form with a number. It still has it up in the upper left-hand corner. Except they pulled a big paragraph out and they put their own stuff in there. And they take another one that's, another tax form, and it's supposed to be signed by a judge, and they take that section out, and they have it signed by a private attorney. Well, that's just counterfeiting, man. That shit isn't right. Right? So all these tie together, right? And so eventually I got to write you about it. And what I wrote you about, just real quickly, I won't spend much time on this because you can go read it, right? But I was pointing out that impersonation of public officers in Kent County, Michigan, and elsewhere is causing the denial of constitutional due process protection and of the Republican form of government guaranteed the states. And then I went on to show you why that, the sixth article of the Constitution of the United States, it's got some requirements in there. And there was the first law passed after the ratification of the Constitution is the law that says, well, this is the oath that satisfies the sixth article of the Constitution, right? It's an act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths. 1 Stat 23. And it says, this is, the oath. I state your name, you solemnly swear or affirm, I will support the Constitution of the United States. That's all that you need to do. Well, that has since been codified in the United States Code to specifically, tell the state again, hey, state, you need to do this. Right? So all state officers, state, legislative, and every executive and judicial officer of the state. Well, that would be you, Sheriff. It would be all sheriffs. It'd be all judges, all governor, all attorney general, all ALL. If you're going to claim an office in the government in Michigan, then you have to have taken this oath to support the Constitution of the United States to satisfy the federal government. I don't care what the state wants. This is what they want. Well, it hasn't been done, so that's called an omission, right? People have omitted filing an oath required by federal law for them to do before they can proceed to execute duties of his office. Ain't been done. Well, another thing they don't do is they don't give you a residence address. And I'm going to show you on your warranty deed that that's exactly what it doesn't say it's your residence address on your warranty deed. On yours, Sheriff, it says it's your postal address. Right? They simulate legal process using counterfeit forms. All that's in those videos. It's, goes on and on and on. Interest in real property is not taxable. Right? But yet this being taxed is real property, which is what I'm going to show you today with in your own particular case. Franchises by utilities aren't being done right. So like where I'm at, Consumers Energy doesn't have a franchise, but that's who my bill comes from. Well, how can that be? Right? They have a franchise with this Great Lakes power co-op or something like that, but that isn't who I'm doing business with. So how did Consumers Energy become my agent in, something I should be directly dealing with the township with? Because the township's the one that gave the franchise. Well, you find out all it takes a few errors in records or you to agree to something without really understanding what it is, and so forth and so on. And, they just say, well, you agree. Registered and qualified elector of a township, can't be doing that, right? On and on and on. I don't want to go through all this again. But what I did wanted to point out, this is the biggest thing in there, Sheriff, is I sent you evidence that Gretchen Esther Whitmer is, committing a felony. And so this is a felony complaint that I had filled out, right? I'm sure you've seen this form before. And here's the evidence I had on there, right, that this is the oath that she did file, because I got a hold of the state, said, hey, send me the oath that the governor filed. And this is what they sent me. So, first of all, they did not send me one for 4 U.S.C. 101, so she omitted filing that one. But somebody filed this. I don't even know if it was her, but let's say that it was, right? And this is apparently the wording that is on the state of Michigan Constitution that you're supposed to take, but it isn't because the grammar's wrong, right? Constitution of the state should be all lowercase, and they've made it proper case, and, well, that just changed the whole meaning of the sentence. And then she didn't use her full legal name, right? Her name isn't Gretchen Whitmer. It's Gretchen Esther Whitmer. That's the name on her driver's license, right? She can't identify herself as Gretchen Whitmer. The fuck is going on here? And then to add insult to injury, just so we can all know that it's been done wrong and really done wrong, right? A notary public cannot administer an oath to a governor. Yet that's who did it. Right? So this is not the governor of Michigan. So why the fuck are we listening to her? Right? Why are you allowing her to even be in the Capitol? Arrest her ass today. She's a terrorist. Hey, here's that 4 U.S.C. 101, right, which got the little birdie up in the corner, which means this is an authenticated copy from the government printing office. This is the law according to the law library of the United States. Oath by members of the legislature and officers. Sure enough, there it is. Every member of state legislature and every executive officer, judicial officer, which one of those are you, Sheriff, of the state shall, before he proceeds to execute duties of his office, take this oath. Have you taken the oath yet? If you haven't, you don't have any authority. Right? So stop pretending. So I wish you would go take the oath and be the sheriff. That's my choice. But be a sheriff. So anyways, I filed that, Sheriff, at the 63rd District Court. You know where that is. It's down there on the Beltline. Yeah, what's her name? Smolowski? Smolinsky? I don't remember her name. I've had to talk to her. She knows who I am. You can talk to her about me. Anyways, that court was good enough to issue a notice of hearing based on the complaint. Hearing on felony complaint that was filed in the 63rd District Court, Ritluski versus Whitmer. Check. The defendant is required to attend this hearing. Now, as far as I know, she didn't attend. I didn't attend because I didn't need to. But I don't believe she attended. Why don't you find out? If she, failed to make a court hearing, you can arrest her for that. But so these are all different things I filed in different court cases about treason by counterfeited seals. We're going to look at that one, right? Violation of Uniform Code of Military Justice. If Whitmer says she's the governor, well, then it's a fraudulent appointment because she didn't take the oath on 4 U.S.C. 101. Because if she's the governor, then ex officio, she's the commander-in-chief. Well, that's a military office. Now she's under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. She's acting like a spy, got a false official statements. It goes on and on and on. It's almost crazy. Now, here's a really big one. Look, I would just go to look at the law. Right, this is Great Seal, Act 19, 1963. for Michigan, where it says the Great Seal of the state, the Great Seal shall be comprised of a coat of arms of the state, around which shall appear the words Great Seal of State of Michigan, AD, with a bunch of uppercase letters, right? So it's mainly lowercase, one proper case, and then some uppercase. That's how it's supposed to be. Starting with great. Notice there's no the at the beginning, right? Great Seal of the State of Michigan. But this is what they use, right? And it has the on the front, and it's all in uppercase. This is a counterfeit seal of what is the Great Seal of Michigan. Now, there's all sorts of reasons then to arrest her. So I'm just showing you, right? This is how bad it is. These are the people that are telling you that you can't leave your house. They're telling me I can't leave my house. And, you're threatened every time you go in the store. This shit's got to come to an end, Sheriff. And you're the one that can do something about it. All right. Well, hey, let's get a little more personal. Hang on a second here. Well, actually, before we can get into your particular piece of equipment or piece of property, which again, Sheriff, this is all public record stuff. I'm not showing you anything that somebody cannot get just by going to look at the Kent County Register of Deeds website, right? But we're going to find that we talk about this thing called the Land Division Act, and this is that act, right? And it's a very, 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 very important act because it has to do with the land. It don't have to do with property. It's got to do with the land. Well, I don't have time to read it all, obviously, so I'm just going to go to the page that, for us, has some meaning today, and it's this thing to do with these assessor's plats, right? Which this is the reasons they can have one, where there's a tract of land owned by two or more persons. Well, that's what's happening because the state has the legal title, and we have equitable title. We have the use. The state has the legal title. Right? So we don't have real property. We have personal property in real property. But the line I wanted to show you was right down here. Now we're talking about evidence. It's all about the evidence. They said that all of Trump's attorneys weren't putting in any evidence. Right? Well, they filed a bunch of affidavits, but they're being told it's not evidence. Well, that's because an affidavit isn't evidence. An affidavit is an oath rendered in writing. Testimony is evidence, and testimony is given by deposition. Right? And so I did many videos on that, but this is just how, if you don't put in evidence, you don't have any evidence. Well, a plat as evidence. So an instrument dated and acknowledged after January 1st, 1968, purporting to convey or mortgage any such lands except by reference to the assessor's plat may not be recorded by the Register of Deeds. So if your warranty deed, because that'd be the instrument, if it was done after 1968 and it doesn't somehow reference an assessor's plat, which has a name, that's another thing they talk in here about having a name and so forth, right? Well, it may not be, recorded by the Register of Deeds. And you say, well, okay, mine must be okay. They took it. Well, the Register of Deeds didn't record it. They filed it, right? It's filed for record, but it's not been recorded. If it was recorded, it would have a book and page number. And as I'll show you, yours doesn't have a book and page. Yours has got a document number. So, I don't know any township that has done this, right? But every township needs to have their assessors do assessor plats, because that's going to tie the current owner to the frickin' property, to the land. And it's all in here in this section on assessor's plats, which I've already talked about in previous videos. I wish I could do it again. Sorry, Sheriff, but if you want a personal lesson, give me a call. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Okay, hang on again. Okay, Sheriff. So we're going to be talking about this piece of property here that known to all men by these presents at Michael P. Slonka, whose street number and post office address is 43 Celia Street, Wyoming, Michigan, conveys and warrants to Ethan Young and Michelle LaJoy Young as joint tenants with full rights of survivorship, whose street number and post office address is 68 or 6989 Camp Owl Lake Road, Alto, Michigan. Right, the following described premises. Then it says see Exhibit A, and it gives a commonly known address. We're going to be talking about that, but I have a marked up copy we're going to look at. This is that piece of property I'm talking about. That you have, apparently this is supposed to be in Wyoming. So let's find out what that's about. Okay, so hang on again just one second. So before we tear the document apart for all its errors and omissions, which there are plenty, right? Let's go to look at, now that we know what we're talking about, well, this is supposed to be land that's in the city of Wyoming. That's what the city of Wyoming would tell you. And if you go to the city of Wyoming's website, you can find, well, they have a code of ordinances, right? Right? About city of Wyoming, right? You got all these different things you could look at. Now look at the city of Wyoming. It says the city departments are 62A district court. Keep that in mind, right? That's the city of Wyoming. Now it's not the city of Wyoming, it's city of Wyoming. But if we go over here and we look under city government, you will find code of ordinances. You click it and you end up here, and you end up looking at these pages where it says the municipal corporation shall be known as what? The city of Wyoming, with the capitalized as part of the name. Well, that is what is on the website. This is city of Wyoming. There's something that is not quite the same. Let's continue on. The city shall include the following described territory in Kent County, Michigan. Right, so there's the jurisdiction it's in. That would be yours, Sheriff, right? Kent County, Michigan Sheriff. Is that what you are? You're the Kent County Sheriff or Kent County, Michigan Sheriff? But there you are, Kent County, Michigan. Together with annexations there too, and less detachments there for, and blah, 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 blah. They may even be talking about houses as far as that goes. But if we go further, all the following described area located in Town 6 North, Range 12 West, County of Kent, State of Michigan, viz. Let's stop again. How do we go from Kent County, Michigan to County of Kent, State of Michigan? Now, first of all, this Town 6 Range, County of Kent, State of Michigan, that is not a public land survey style of description for a boundary. Right? That is something that's been modified where the public land survey, it's the thing that created all the towns or the townships. The original jurisdiction in the United States is the township, a bunch of 6x6 squares that were then organized into counties, and then those counties then became organized townships and organized cities and villages and so forth and so on. But before they were any of that stuff, they were just a township, a surveyed township by the Public Land Survey. Well, that isn't how it's being described, right? That's its legal description, is what the Public Land Survey says. Right? The federal government will tell you that a cadastral survey is the thing that proves legal title, and that's what they do. They tell you what the frickin' Public Land Survey is. Describing your property by the Public Land Survey. But that isn't how these people want to do it. They know that, right? So, well, we can't use that because that's the law. That's the land. What we need to do is be a devious, and we'll change it and we'll say, well, we'll just call it, how about we call it Town 6 North, Range 12 West, County of Kent, State of Michigan. And they just made up their own jurisdiction. And because you agreed, well, there you are. Right? But that's this thing's jurisdiction. Whatever that is, it's in a fictional world, right? It's because this is an incorporation. Now, this is a corporation. It's not the land, but it's called the City of Wyoming, and the City of Wyoming then has a charter. All right, so we're looking at right now. We're in the charter. Well, in this charter, it says that there's supposed to be, right, a municipal court. Pursuant to and by virtue of Act Number 5, Public Acts, Michigan, 1956, gave you some numbers. The Michigan compiled laws as amended. The effective date of this charter, which is January 1st, 1959, the court for the city shall be designated as a municipal court of the city of Wyoming. And the judge, therefore, designated as the municipal judge of the city of Wyoming. So, this is what the charter says. Well, you go over here to the state, to this city of Wyoming's website. Now, not the city of Wyoming. And you go look. They say it's 62A District Court. Well, that's not the right name. That's not who the charter's talking about. So, apparently the city of Wyoming with the thing that's under this charter is not following its charter. And if you don't follow your charter, then the people have every right to have a quo warranto issued to find out by what authority then is it acting like a city? Because it doesn't have any authority. And while this is its incorporated side, what it started out as is the town of Wyoming, right? The town of Wyoming got a charter, or wrote its own charter, had a vote on it, and became the city of Wyoming. But it started out as town of Wyoming. So if it's not following its charter anymore, and we could say, well, then your charter's been taken from you, then it's really the town of Wyoming that's is the legal entity that we should be dealing with, not the thing called city of Wyoming. So what the hell is city of Wyoming, right? It's not the government in any form or fashion. It's just an overlay over the government, right? This is some Freemasons fucking creation, right? This is the fictional jurisdiction created by esquires, all members of the Bar Association, who have taken over everything. I mean, most politicians are Bar Association members right now, right? Everybody. Governors are, they're all, Governor Whitmer was a prosecutor, right? The Secretary of State, she was an attorney. So, and of course, obviously the Attorney General is an attorney. Now, none of them are using their full legal name, and they're all in violation of their oaths of office and so forth and so on, but they know that doesn't matter because they've locked all the doors. They've taken away from us, where we should go to get relief, which if you lived in the city of Wyoming, you should be going to the municipal court of the city of Wyoming. That's what your charter says. But that court doesn't exist. Now, it's the same problem in Grand Rapids. You go look at the Grand Rapids charter. It's the same. They got 3 different courts they're supposed to have. They don't have any of those. You can go look at the charter for the city of Rockford. It's supposed to have a Justice of the Peace Court. It doesn't have one of those. Now, they can give you any story about why it's not there, but that doesn't mean anything. Why didn't change the fucking the charter? Right? You're not following your charter. I don't care what your excuse is. You're not following your charter. If you're not going to follow your charter, then by what authority do you claim to be the city? So that's the point. There is no city because there is no municipal court. And the city of Wyoming isn't, following the charter. They're just pretending. They're not the government. They're de facto. So, how is it they can charge you any taxes? That's the point. Because, the power to tax is one of the sovereign powers. You got the power to tax, the power to police, and the power of eminent domain, right? The power to condemn property. Right? But those are government powers. They're not for a private corporation of any kind. That's the sovereign power. And the sovereign power in Michigan is supposed to be administered by a Republican form of government. But if the governor doesn't have an oath of office, well, then I'm being denied a Republican form of government. And so are you, Sheriff. So let's go look at your stuff now. Hang on. Yeah, okay. Let me go here real quick. Just to show you, right? If you go register deeds, you got deed search, property search, local tax information, submit FOIA online, right? That's where you go to get all this information I'm looking at now. And then what we had for you, Sheriff, was this. This is a piece of property that you have in Wyoming. That's the way you get it when you get it from them. And well, this is what it looks like after I look at it. Because I like to read all these things, say, well, what does this mean and what does that mean and how come of this and how come of that? And try to get somebody to have to answer all those things. Because in the federal system, everything is done by, forms and check boxes and proper signatures and so forth. And if you can find the stuff that's not done right, well, then it's, it's not your problem, it's their problem. So, for instance, here's talking about this is the total tax. That'd be the transfer tax, right? Well, where's the transfer tax stamp? Because there's supposed to be one on here by the real estate transfer tax law, right? Instruments executed within the state subject to tax, deeds or instruments to convey real property or any interest therein for consideration. Documentary stamps, right? The tax imposed by this act shall be evidenced by affixing of a documentary stamp or stamps to every instrument subject to the tax imposed by this act. By the person making, executing, issuing, or delivering such document. Document stamps shall be purchased only in the county in which the property is located. Stamps shall be affixed in such manner that the removal will require, with continued application of steam or water, you get the idea, right? There's supposed to be a stamp on there. And yours doesn't have one. Now, let me just stop real quick and go get one to show you so you know what it looks like, Sheriff. So, you'll know what to look for when you go down there. Hang on. They look something like this, apparently. State of Michigan, real estate transfer tax. Right? That's what the stamp's supposed to look like. And now they're supposed to cancel this. And, as you notice, there's this. They wanted to say, well, this is the cancel right here, right? But obviously that's not in the stamp. And this law goes into talking about having to use a freaking a tax meter machine and so forth. And, well, that's what they look like. And yours doesn't have one on there. So let's just start there, right? You don't have one of these. You got a 4-page document, and that is not on it. No, sir. All right, let's go back to the top. Okay, be it known by all men present that Michael, whose street address is something, which is the address really of the property we're talking about, right, warrants to the sheriff tenants with full rights of survivorship, TNNANTS. So, real quick, what is the definition of a tenant? Right, they called you a tenant. Right? Does that word have? Well, sure it does, right? A person holding land or other real estate under another, right? Under another. In other words, a person holding real estate under another. So somebody's over you with the land. Either by grant, lease, or will, one who has the occupation or temporary possession of the lands or tenements whose title is in another, which would be the state. The state has the title. You don't have the title. The state's got the title. You have interest. Yep, that's how they do it, right? So you're a tenant, which, that's not, there's no problem with that. You have all rights and interests in the property. You just don't hold the title. The state's holding it. Okay, where the hell was that at? Okay, then it talks about post office address, which is not a residence address. And a residence address is what you need to have to put on your frickin' driver's license. And I showed that in those previous 4, 5, 6 videos previous to this one, in one of those, or in more than one, right? That when you're talking residence address, they talk about having street and number. And so it's not necessarily your street address backwards, which I thought it was at first. It's your street address and then some number, which is actually like the lot number that goes to the lot that's been given to it under the assessor's plat that's not been fucking created yet. That's why they don't have one to give you. So you can't give them an address, a residence address in the United States because the assessor's plat hasn't been executed. It's part of a scheme. All right, then it says, see Exhibit A attached here to and made part thereof. All right, there's no legal description of this document. Yeah, they have some Exhibit A, but, That's another piece of paper. How many different times could you change that out if you wanted to? How come it's not on here, in other words? It's not like they didn't have room. There's plenty of room in this piece of paper. They didn't put it in there. So there's no residence, or there's no legal description that's been conveyed according to this document. Okay. And then full consideration, whereof executed. All right, and this is supposed to be your PPN, which is your permanent parcel number. But your personal parcel number is not supposed to have any digits in it, or any hyphens in it. And while we'll see this number again, this is the only place it's called a PPN. They'll call it something else as we look at all these other pieces of paper. And then it says, a witness whereof the undersigned have executed this document on these dates. Well, look at, there's all this space there, and there's no undersigned. Now, you know, they want you to believe. You go to the second page, that this is who we're talking about, signed and sealed by Mitchell P. Slonka, State of Michigan, County of Kent, but I thought the property was in Kent County, Michigan. Right? The foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me on the 28th day of February, 2019 by Mitchell P. Slonka. Well, that notary just committed perjury because there is no Mitchell P. Slonka. The notary was supposed to look, or it's at least a violation of a notary act. The notary is supposed to look at their driver's license. And Mitchell P. Slonka won't be on the dude's driver's license. Right? It'll have his full legal name. So, you know, Melissa, I'm sorry, Melissa, that's an act of, it's a violation of notary commission. And then I just happen to notice that this particular footer on this one is different than the rest. It's bigger, bolder, whatever, like, you know, like it came out of a different stack of papers than the rest of these. Okay, so then we're looking at this, assisted by, drafted by. So, right, Mitchell P. Slonka is unqualified to draft a legal document to transfer land. You have to have a license for that. It's called a real estate broker. You got to have a brokerage license to transfer land. Right? Mitchell P. Slonka can't transfer fucking land. Now, I'm sure that, well, I don't know. I mean, everybody buys property different, right? But normally, if you're looking to buy a house, you go to you're working with a real estate agent through a broker. They find the house, you put down some earnest money, and then you sign a buy-sell agreement with the seller, and, you bought the property. Right? But when you do it that way, the broker is actually acting for you. They're your agent. And it's the broker that has the license to do these things. So while he may be doing it for Mitchell P. Slonka, it's not who drafted the damn thing. All right, this is just all part of this evil fucking system they have. Then it goes on to say, okay, send subsequent tax bills to Ethan Young and Michelle LaJoy Young. But I'm sure when we look at how the tax bills come, if we actually had one to look at, but we'll find enough information to get a good idea, that isn't the way they have the names. It'll be like Young, Ethan, and LaJoy Young, Michelle. Well, that isn't how it's said to send the bills. And that isn't your names backwards, because your name doesn't have any commas in it. Right? So, it's actually a way of showing your legal person compared to your natural person. Put your name backwards with a comma. That's your legal person. The same as what we would call today your all caps. Now, that's my opinion. I don't know. Now, it talks about this, the real estate transfer tax that we just looked at, that there needs to be a stamp, and that there's a recording fee, but there's nothing to show that they were paid. Right? Where's the receipt? And this tax parcel number, well, it was a PPN on the other page, which is a permanent parcel number. It's not a tax parcel number, right? They don't have different names for things without having some meaning. So, here's Exhibit A. So they say, right? But it doesn't have a PPN number. That's what's on the first page. Again, right now it's an APN number. Parcel ID. So it's no longer a state tax parcel number either. Now it's a third thing. And then land situated in the state of Michigan, county of Kent. No, that's not where it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be in Kent County, Michigan. That's where the land is, right? It's not situated in the state of Michigan, county of Kent, city of Wyoming. What a bunch of shit. Lot 9 in Pennellwood, according to plat thereof, recorded in Lieber 32, plats, page 40, Kent County records. Now, these Kent County records, this isn't registered deeds. This is Kent County records. Right? The deeds are with the registered deeds, but this is a plat, a map, so it's with the Kent County records, which should be the Kent County clerk, should be the record keeper, who happens to be the registered deeds also, but they're two different hats, right? She shows two offices. My point is, it's not in the registered deeds. So, Lot 9 in Pennellwood, what does that mean? Right? Is that an assessor's plat? Right? Where was the assessor's plat referenced? I don't see any reference to any assessor's plat anywhere. And as we saw, well, according to the law, after 1968, you're going to transfer property, you got to have the assessor's plat referenced, or the registered deeds cannot record your transaction. And this hasn't been recorded. Right? She's not going to record it till you pay the tax. This don't have a tax stamp on it. And, that's hereby. Okay, so right now, this particular moment, it doesn't appear there's any, liens or encumbrances, but it doesn't mean that the certificate does not apply to current taxes, if any, now in process of collection. Just prior taxes, if any, in process of collection. Because there's always something in the process of collection. Okay, so this is, Sheriff, you got lots of problems in your warranty deed. Now, what else we got to look at? If you went to, I think it was local tax information. I got to find that properties. Hang on. Okay, so as I said, you could do deed search, property search, local tax information. Let's just real quick look at what the property search had to say, which gives a parcel identification. Now, it's not a PPN, it's just a parcel identification, but it does have the same numbers. It says what the government unit is, and it says the government unit is City of Wyoming, but that isn't it. It's the City of Wyoming. Or, if it isn't that, then it's the Town of Wyoming. But it's not City of Wyoming. Now, the owners here, they got your names backwards. Young Ethan and LaJoy Young, LaJoy Young Michelle. Without any commas, just your name backwards. Right there. But that's all the name of one owner, right? That's like it's run together. That's the name of a business. It's not the name of two owners. They've got a place for two owners there. How come they didn't put both of you down there? Right? Because they took your names and they created a thing out of your names. Here's a property address, and then it says its classification is 401 residential. Well, really, that isn't its classification, and that's in those previous videos I did, the 5 videos or so prior to this one, where I talk about the classifications and that it should actually be 451, which is residential personal property, not residential real property. And residential personal property isn't taxed. So that's what that had to tell us, right? Which wasn't a lot, but we learned a little more. Now let's go look at what else was there. What was the next thing we called? Local tax information. That one. Let's go look at your tax information. Okay, so now it's a parcel number. Yeah, that number is the same, but it's not the permanent parcel number. It's not the PPN. They've given it a different thing now. And they're saying that this is the property address, right? This right here. So it's not the residence address. It's not the postal address. It's not the situs address. It's not the physical address, right? It's the property address, apparently, but it's in parentheses. So what does that mean? I have to ask a scrivener. I don't really know. right? But I know the property owner now is just one of you, right? It goes to Ann, and Sheriff, you're not on there. I don't understand that, right? How about here? Now we got Young with a comma, and LaJoy Young with a comma. Now, on the other page, remember, they didn't have no comma. They were backwards like this, but they didn't have a comma. Now they have a comma, and in either case, is that the way it's on the warranty deed? All right, which has your name as Ethan Young and Michelle LaJoy Young as joint tenants with full rights of survivorship. So on here, right, this name here, Ethan Young and Michelle LaJoy Young, basically that's the way it should show up on every other document, if that's who it was warranted to. But as we can see, that don't follow through very far. Don't follow through anywhere. Now they got you 401 on here also. Well, again, that's wrong. It should be 451. And it's not the city of Wyoming, because the city of Wyoming doesn't exist. It's the city of Wyoming, or it's town of Wyoming. But there is no city of Wyoming. Not really sure what R2 means to them, but what I do know is it shows that you don't own any fucking property, right? Total acres, 0.000. Not even a square foot of land do you own. What's your lot dimensions? 50 by 133, but see, it doesn't have any units, right? No feet or whatever, so we don't know what that means. You can go ahead and guess. I mean, they want you to guess. Well, that means my lot's 50 by 130, and I can put that in the calculator. That'll tell me how big my lot is, but no, they're supposed to tell you. Or I don't know what a mortgage code 257 is, but somebody does because they put it on here. Then it talks about having lot 1, right, which frontage is 50 feet, and its average depth is 130 feet. But again, it's not a square footage. It doesn't tell you how much land you own, right? You don't own any land. It's 0.00. So these are just lines, and I've shown this in previous videos too. It's just a line going down the front, down the side. That's all it is. Right? Legal description. Lot 9, Pennellwood. Well, let's go look at your warranty deed real quick. Let's see if that's what they called your Lot 9 in Pennellwood, according to plat thereof. Right? So this is saying this is the complete legal description, right? I mean, they did not put just Lot 9 in Pennellwood. Right here, it's not even Lot 9 in Pennellwood. It's Lot 9 Pennellwood. So this legal description is not the same legal description as on your warranty deed. So, Sheriff, not only do they have your names different, so it's not really you, it's not the names in the warranty deed, and it's not the legal description of the warranty deed. So why are you paying the taxes on this piece of property? Right, sale history. Whatever arm's length means, which means it stinks. We're going to keep it way over here. We really don't want to know. But remember, it said it needed to be put on Lieber and Page. Well, it's not in Lieber and Page, right? There used to be some in Lieber and Page. Then they started going to these freaking document numbers. It's not been recorded in the book, which is the Lieber. That's the book, and the Page. They just gave it a document number and filed it in it's filed for record. If we ever get all the information, we'll record it. But until then, we got what you gave us. We put it on file. I don't know what ST, I guess that means style. What does 1.25 STY mean? I don't know. Okay, well, there you go, right? It's obvious that the description and so forth of what's being taxed is no wise the same. It's what's on the warranty deed. And so why are you paying tax on this? To the city of Wyoming, which doesn't exist because either it's the city of Wyoming or it's town of Wyoming. Right? Town of Wyoming got a charter, or created its own charter. People of town of Wyoming created its own charter. It became the city of Wyoming. Right? That's the corporate power that it created. Okay, now, just because we're here, and because most people do buy their property from through real estate brokers or agents or so forth, agencies. It's good to have some understanding of this because at the end of the day, it's the broker's fault, right? The buyer's broker failed to make sure that the buyer got everything the buyer was supposed to get because the buyer's broker is acting as the buyer. Broker shall assist buyer in purchasing real estate, more particularly described in paragraph 2. Excuse me. This is just the desired property. So it doesn't say legal description yet, right? Just property. Exclusive agent, how you're going to get paid, credit, buyer receive credit against any amount pursuant to paragraph 4 above for any commission paid to broker by the seller for the seller's or the seller's listing broker. At the time of initial contract, the broker shall inform all prospective sellers and their agents that the broker is acting on behalf of the buyer. Remember, only a broker can transfer property. Right? They have a license. But, and you have a contract because both parties signed the contract. Now, on your mortgage for the bank, you didn't sign a contract with the bank. There's no document anywhere that has both the bank's signature and the buyer's signature on a contract. The bank didn't sign a contract because the bank didn't lend you any money. I know it's crazy to understand, but it's just the way it is. Right? I'm not trying to explain why that is. I'm just telling you it's the truth. If they cannot produce, you don't have to produce it, they do. If the bank cannot produce a contract, right, for a loan that has your signature and their signature on it, then there is no contract. That's just business law. Sheriff, it's not that difficult. All right, so that would be the first document you would have to do, right? You want to go buy a house, first you got to do this, agent's contract to make them your agent. And then they're going to get you and somebody who's selling property to sign a buy-sell agreement. Well, here's where, we get down to what's going on because this says the property is located in blank county, Michigan. Right? And what did the warranty deed say? Land situated in state of Michigan, county of Kent, city of Wyoming. All right? Well, that's nowhere near what the frickin' buy-sell agreement said. So, and legal described as, so the legal description had to be here in block 1 of the buy-sell agreement. So where's your buy-sell agreement? Sheriff, got one? Go look at it. Now, somebody should have all this paperwork, right? If it's within 6 years, because I think yours said like 2019, your real estate agent has a duty to have all this paper on file. Go ahead and get a copy. If you want me to look at it, send it to me. I'd be happy to. Court of record, AOL.com. I'll tell you what else is wrong. This property includes all buildings, fixtures, gas, oil, mineral rights owned by seller. Now, we don't really know what the seller owns because, he never owned it either. This is the problem. They've never frickin' transferred the property. Purchase price, method of payment, title insurance. The seller shall provide to buyer at seller's expense an owner's policy of title insurance. Now, this is where it gets interesting for anybody, right? Because the seller had to provide it to the buyer. And the buyer, in this case, until this deal is done, is the agent, right? So they would have to make sure that the policy was okay. Because if you look at an owner's policy of title insurance, it doesn't have your name as being the insured, right? They make up a thing. They don't use your full legal name, right? Your name, my name, I use me. My name's Robert Allen Bretluski, right? Now, which one of the Robert Allen Bretluski possibilities in the world am I? Well, then it's tied to, social security number or driver's license number or EIN number or whatever you have, right? I mean, that one, right? That's your authenticator. Right, is your number, right? But your identification is Robert Allen Bretluski. Well, that's the name that should be on the frickin' title insurance. And if you can find your copy, you won't have that on there. Okay, closing costs. And So since you don't have this, right, and it wasn't done, it had to be 30 days to receive a written notice of remedy of any claim defect, right? So that's on the seller. Well, the seller, it's the same thing as the buyer. The seller had a agent. So I think you've got to put the notice the seller. But this is why you could take your agent to small claims court, because they didn't do this for you. Right, for the earnest money that you put down. Because this, they only put down earnest money. Now this, they didn't show it on there, I don't think. Release buyer and seller acknowledge that neither listing broker or seller nor the representative agents have any representation concerning the condition of the property covered. No, you don't have any of that. You're representing the buyer. That's what your representation is. And if you didn't make sure the buyer got a proper freaking warranty or title insurance, then, it's fraud. Land Act division. Seller and buyer agree the following statements shall be included in the deed at the time of delivery. So that's for unplatted land only. So if these things aren't on there, that means that it had to have been platted. Now, does that mean the assessor's plat or whose plat? Right, but these two statements need to be on there, and neither of those statements are on yours. Sure, if we go, they're not down here on the legal description, and they're not anywhere in the front page, so it didn't happen. Earnest money deposit, there we go. All right, so they put in money in earnest. And, basically all the money you ever put in, it's either in earnest or in escrow. You're not paying a loan. There was no loan to pay. Bank didn't sign any paperwork. Even when you get HUD paperwork, the first paperwork you do is like a preliminary HUD paperwork. You're supposed to do a final HUD paperwork, and nobody has that. I can't say nobody. I mean, I've not seen it. I've looked at a lot of people's paperwork, and it says it's supposed to be in there, and they don't have it. Now, all this paperwork should be available either through the broker, right, through the real estate people, or through the closing agency. Now, they may each have some of it, and you have to get both of it to get everything. This is for anybody who's listening to me, right? You want to know what's going on in your property, and especially if you recently bought a house, then contact your broker and tell him you want all the paperwork, right? And contact the closing agent and tell him you want all the paperwork. And if you want me to look at it, then send it all to me. And I'll be happy to look at it as long as I can share it online without trying to erase everything because you want to hide your fucking identity. Because I'm not interested in that. As you can see, all the stuff I'm doing is public record anyway, so there's really nothing to hide. Right? And we need to, what we need to do is show the Pharisee the truth. They can't say they didn't see it. All right, so again, this is one of those documents where you got the seller signs and the buyer signs, and so it's a bilateral business contract. Now, does the agent have to sign this too? I don't remember if the agent signs this one. Anyways, we'll get back to that some other time. Anyways, that's what's going on, Sheriff. Your deed is not legit, and the government unit, City of Wyoming, does not exist, and yet they're going to send you a tax bill to say pay City of Wyoming, summer and winter taxes. And this right here, okay, I should have found it on here. Let me go look again. Who has to pay what? Where was that at? Right? The seller shall pay all state and county transfer tax and costs required to convey clear title. Right? So this tax here, this should have all been paid by the seller. So where's the receipt that the seller paid it. Right? Don't have a receipt? Well, then you have a court case. And then the buyer shall pay all costs for recording the deed and or security interest and mortgage closing cost and fees required in connection with the buyer's loan and issuance of the lender's title for the lender's title insurance policy, right? So, but the recording of the deed and all that other stuff. So where is your receipt that shows that you paid to have the deed recorded? Because I'm saying this doesn't show it's been recorded. So there you go, Sheriff. Right, you're paying tax on something you don't own. It's using a different, there's your recording fee, right? There's a real estate fee. But there's nothing on here to show it's been paid. So, okay, well, that's, I guess, Sheriff, that's all I really wanted to show you, right? That I want to know if the city sings, I shaft the sheriff, because they are, Sheriff. They're shafting you. They're shafting your deputies. They're shafting this police in the city of Wyoming. They're shafting all law enforcement. Shaft, 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 shaft. And they're not the government. The city of Wyoming is impersonating, city of Wyoming is impersonating the city of Wyoming. And the city of Wyoming is in violation of its charter. And because it's in violation of its charter, it's no longer the city of Wyoming. It's just reverted back to the town of Wyoming, which is what it was before it became the city of Wyoming. Could have been the village of Wyoming. That's the other choice. It's probably the village of Wyoming. That's how we do it in Michigan. We have villages. Some places they have towns. Right? We have villages. The village became a city. Right? So it's reverted back to its village jurisdiction. And in the village jurisdiction, it's a body politic, which was in my last video. I don't have time to go over it again right now, so let's leave it there. If you watched this long, if you would, please donate, right? PayPal, Rob Ryder, AOL.com. Send it in the mail. Thank you very much. Have a great day.